And Tyler with the best opening.
What?
Nothing. It's just Doug was like, and we're live, and you coughed at the same time. Well, hey, we're here, everyone. Welcome to.
No, we were live. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Welcome to episode 98 of Fans of Power. I'm Joe Amato, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Tyler T-Rex Baker. What's up, T-Rex? You feeling okay? Got a little cough there. I didn't know.
I apologize if my voice sounds rough. I thought I was dealing with allergies, and I think it's a bit of a cold or a small flu or something. I don't know what it is, but I apologize for my voice sounding probably not like it normally does, and I'll try my best to not cough.
Hey man, if you got a cough, you got a cough. You'll be fine.
I'm trying to do when I'm coughing, just trying to clear.
You'll be all right, man. Well, just real quick, I wanted to say in the chat room, I want to say hi to JSP, Mo2 Maniac, Tom Charlton, and we got Dan Rice here too. So welcome everybody to the chat room, and hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, exactly. So you guys want to interact during the show, that'd be cool. We can answer questions that you have, and yeah. So, well, anything new, Tyler? anything like in
yeah. Before we get going, as we're recording this, a lot of us are just now learning that, of course, we're big wrestling fans on this podcast, and then unfortunately, the greatest manager of all time has just left our planet. Bobby the Brain Heenan has just passed away today, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends and people in the wrestling business who worked with him, and we praise his spirit for bringing so much joy, and we'll continue to, as you go back and revisit old matches and promos and stuff like that with Gorilla Monsoon. So we want to thank Bobby Heenan for the wonderful memories he's given us.
Wow, that was actually a shocker to me. I didn't know that. I didn't know when that was posted.
You're just now realizing.
Just learning. That's why I was so quiet. I just found out from what you just said.
Gary Cox, I think like around close a little after 7, sent me a message. Hey, did you know Bobby Heenan died? Like, no.
Wow, that's a shame. Jesus. Yeah, and you know what's crazy? Would you believe and I'm glad I didn't do it because it would have seemed tasteless, but it would have been with me being clueless. I was actually going to do a little gimmick intro of like how primetime wrestling used to be. I was going to say, I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
We honor wrestlers of the past, or wrestlers who've left us on here all the time. So
yeah, it just would have seemed a little bit out of place with me not knowing, but what a shame. Yeah, he was the best.
Best. I can't picture anybody that cuts a better promo than Bobby Heenan. I mean, even above my favorite wrestler, Hogan, above Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels. I mean, list goes on. Bobby the Brain Heenan could get heat on anybody. He could get heat on a cardboard box.
He was great. Yeah, and no matter what he did. I mean, it's weird. It's like he's somebody you love to hate and just love in general. Because what's funny is like there was 2 different ways with him. There was like when he was the manager outside the ring, and when he would interfere, oh my God, you hated him. But when he would do his little promos and stuff and doing the interviews in the back of store, like when he'd do primetime wrestling with Gorilla Monsoon, you loved him. It's like you wanted to hear what Bobby had to say.
I hated him at all times as a kid. Like there was never a time that I liked Bobby.
I loved and hated.
And appreciated the heels a lot more when I was a teenager. So I go back and watch, Heenan with Mr. Perfect or Slick with the Boss Man or something like that. I appreciated the heels a lot more as I got a little bit older, and Bobby definitely was the best.
Yeah, he was. And he'll be missed. Yeah, he was, like I said, nobody could beat him.
For someone in his condition, he sure as hell held on a long time. So
yeah, he did. Well, that is sad news. I didn't know about that. And all right. Well, I was going to say again in the live chat, I want to say hello to Kevin Castillo and also Captain Chronic. They joined us up in the chat room also. So thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We have a couple different little topics. We're going to discuss one thing, discuss a character profile. But as for news of Masters of recent things, of things going on, gosh, I think the only thing maybe I seen was an Orko Dorbs. Is that like pretty much the only new piece of news? I can't.
News to me. I mean, I think maybe I saw something like that somewhere, but it's really got to be something kind of epic in scale, or at least in appearance for it to register in my head and stuff like that. I'll see it on social media and I'm like, just okay. So
yeah, because there's just not much going on as for new news. I mean, we've seen the Super 7 reveals, just about a week ago or something, which was fantastic. But beyond that, I'm sure we'll have a wait and see for a while. I mean, God, I still, every once in a while, I'm popping up on Facebook and somebody's like, hey, did you hear about the movie? And they're showing all this mock-up. I'm like, are we still going through this? Are we still going through this imaginary thing?
Somebody share a link with, it's an old link because it's always got King Grayskull attached to the image.
Yes.
I'm like, dear, where are these people hiding? What, who moved the rock? When they come out, at this point, say, did you hear about the new movie news here, guys? I'm reporting it first,
It's always that same image of that, too.
In a trash can, you're not doing anybody any favors here.
Yeah, because all it does is
up to date on your movie news here, people.
Yeah, because it just restarts the hype. It starts it over and over again, and then we have to keep putting up with typing. Because, like I said, I love that people...
Batman slapping Robin picture. When that pops up, that needs to be the initial response.
And I do. I always pop that picture up, and I update it every year. And like I said, I love the enthusiasm when the fans are always like, Joe, did you see this? And I always say, I thank you. I appreciate that. But I let them know. I was like, this has been going on for almost 15 years. I was like, trust me, it's supposed to come 2019. It's not going to happen. And I know that all the enthusiasm would be great, but it's not going to happen.
We're approaching 2018 here with
it's still nothing.
No announcements whatsoever. Sony is not focusing on He-Man.
How long has it been since they did that hype where they talked about it's going to come out in December of 2019? When did they do that? How many months ago was that?
Oh, God, that was, I think it was back before, way before summer, because I guess we figured if they announce anything, it's going to be at San Diego. And, of course, San Diego came and went. There was no announcement. In December 2019, let's see, we're getting Star Wars this Christmas. The following Christmas is nothing. No, Star Wars, the third part of the new trilogy is coming out December 2019. There's no way in hell Sony is going to put out any of their properties against Star Wars that month. I think Wonder Woman is scheduled to come out that month as well. So
hold on. Let's leave the whole movie discussion with this last thing posted in the chat room from Tom Charlton. He said, He-Man movie confirmed. He said, J.J. Abrams as director 2025. Pretty much, Tom. So, yeah, there you go. Because he's just saying that's going to keep delayed. So, there, we'll end with the
2045 while we're at it.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're done with the movie because it ain't happening. So, now, what did you want to do? Did you want to do a discussion on one of the really cool books, or did you want to discuss...
Yeah, let's do that first. We'll do Thief of Castle Grayskull.
Well, you want to start us off with this? By the way, it must have been referenced to... Because I love it. Guys, there's an inside little joke, or not an inside joke, like razzing each other back and forth, me and Tyler. Every time, we refer to the heroic warriors as masters of the universe. He hates it. He's like, no, Joe, no. They're heroic warriors. That's what they are. That's what they're called. And he was like, I hated how they shoved it down your throat in MYP. I was like, but they said it in the old stuff. He's like, no, I don't care. Because in this book, they must have referenced that at least, I don't know, 8, 9 times. And even He-Man said it himself. But there you go. Go ahead, Tyler, you start.
I think this was the third Golden Book I got as a child. I got Sword of Skeletor, Caverns of Fear, and then the Thief of Castle Grayskull as a kid. Really enjoyed the book a lot as a kid. An amazing cover by Earl Norem. Seeing He-Man in peril on the cover like that was a very it was an eye catcher. And
real quick, I could be wrong, but I thought this was one of Gino's covers.
Of course, I was waiting for you to chime in with your just finding some way to say the guy's name, just because you like saying that name. So. Are you sure it's not Earl Norem?
I'm definite. That's Gino's. This is not Earl's. Earl usually marks all of his anyways, but you can tell it's always
like I know Diachile did Sword of Skeletor and Caverns of Fear. I thought for sure Earl Norem did Thief of Castle Grayskull.
No, I'm thinking this is Gino. If somebody wants to correct me if I'm wrong, hey, if I'm wrong, I'll admit and own up to it. But it's just he has a distinct way he draws He-Man, and that really looks like his version of He-Man. But I might be wrong, but I'm almost certain it's Gino. But go ahead.
All right. Well, we'll give the blue ribbon to Joe there for that one.
Oh, and by the way, JSP is with you. He likes heroic warriors, so he's a good man.
Yes. We must stand united to just crush that lame ass title that was given to him in MYP just because they apparently couldn't think of anything clever to use.
Probably just copied out of the book here and from the past, but
douchebag man at arms.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a fun story of Skeletor successfully stealing Castle Grayskull itself, like the actual castle itself, in a giant cyclone, so to speak, and transports it to the Land of Shadows. And it's featured on the Golden Book VHS tape too. So to actually see this book kind of come to life, and it was, even looking at the book, it was frightening to see, Skeletor inside the cyclone, kind of holding the castle itself inside the cyclone. He-Man leaps all the way up into the sky to grab a hold of it to keep Skeletor from taking it. It was just
and the video jazzed up a little bit with effects and things.
Yeah, you got some effects with some rocks falling and some swirling, or with the cyclone and everything. And of course, the cover represents what happens. He-Man obviously does not keep the castle from being stolen. Gets caught in the cyclone itself, and Stratos has to fly into the sky and catch him before he falls to his death. And they go in search, looking for the castle, as they're being observed by Skeletor and Beastman inside Snake Mountain. And they trek for what comes off as a very long time, looking for the Land of Shadows, and eventually do arrive in this area that looks, similar to Eternia. I think the Land of Shadows is kind of done in that those panels of them riding the battle ram and stuff like that into the dark.
And it was pretty barren, like all the life has been taken away
barren.
from the land.
It's just a land of very little light, a lot of darkness and stuff like that. Land of Shadows. And when they arrive, there's as He-Man says in the Golden Book, a demon army, and Beastman's right out front leading the charge of these other orange-colored demons, and Skeletor's right on top of the castle, triumphant. And it's a. I remember in that panel though, when they see Beastman and the demons, like Beastman is drawn very weird looking in that panel. As a kid, I just thought, why is Beastman drawn so weird? But then you flip over in the next page, and it looks like Filmation Beastman standing there with all his defeated minions all around him, and Skeletor's on top of the castle. It was just one of those things as a kid that you're like, why was that drawn weird? Why is Beastman drawn weird here, but he looks spot on in this next page, or he looks spot on through the rest of the book? Just, it's like kids are not stupid. We notice stuff as children. And not that it killed the book for me. It's just one of those little nitpicks that, much like Joe does a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. When they showed like all, Beastman and all his, the demons, the demon army with him, it was kind of a little bit further back in the distance. So it's like, Beastman got, most of his details, but the demon army, not a lot. They just basically got blank orange.
Yes, to his credit, Beastman is supposed to be drawn at a distance as they're coming towards the heroic warriors for battle. So
yeah, and so he gets the color
for that, but it just looks so odd to me.
Yeah, because I eat it up to where I want more color. Like, I always understand that in a lot of these books, the generic kind of warriors, evil, good, whoever they may be in the background, usually are not given, full details of color. They're just like, blam, all orange, all gray, whatever. But, it's funny. Of course, it's not him, but I always say, hey, you could say Goatman was in this before anywhere else, because there is a creature right by Beastman that's got these horns, looks kind of like Goatman, but I know he's not. But it's things like that to where I was just, man, I wish they would have colored him up, because it would have just given more, a cooler array and variety of more enemies for the heroic warriors to fight.
Yeah, and it would be really cool to incorporate Goatman somehow into some of these earlier stories. Being that he only had that one appearance, and that's something that I think. Not that the story needs to be told by any means, but it would be nice to think of Goatman as being around at that time still, because
it'd be cool. Like I said, just use imagination to just create something. Because these books, I love these storybooks. There's usually just, it's just always one, picture per page. And that's why you maybe didn't get as much intensity as you wanted. Like a record book, you have the audio, the VHS. But it's like you wish there could have been more showing of the battle, because basically it just said a battle ensued for a while, and eventually He-Man and them defeated Beastman's warriors to get past them to get after Skeletor. But you didn't get a big epic battle. It would have been cooler to see, but you get the gist of it from
The
what.
gist that you got these demons, showing maces and axes and stuff like that, and He-Man and the buddies just kicked all their asses.
Yeah.
Beastman's the only one left standing. It's almost kind of like as a way of saying, we kicked all their asses. You want to come at us now? It's like, Beastman, he go try that.
Is that basically the only main ones? Was Beastman, Skeletor, and then these cronies, or was there any other main villain? I didn't know if there was any other main villain that was in there besides them two.
No, this was just one of those stories. It's just Beastman and Skeletor. Just them. Because in the first, I always consider this the trilogy where you've got Caverns, Thief, and Sword of Skeletor. Is this trilogy that in some kind of way for me is always kind of connected because of that VHS tape. And you had Trapjaw and Merman and Beastman in the first story, and then the third story you've got Merman and Beastman, and this one is just Skeletor and Beastman kind of flying solo together, the typical duo that they are.
Yeah, and what's cool is, and real quick, I just want to say hey to Aaron Johnson. What's up? He's in the chat room also, so thank you. Yeah, thanks for joining us. But what else? It's cool to compare, like we've said before, the books with the VHS tapes, because like you said, they put them in like kind of different unique orders, and then it kind of made you want to read the books, a different way. Then it seemed like they added different little scenes sometimes on VHS that you weren't seeing here, or extra details. And anybody can go to YouTube and you can just type in any of these stories and you can watch and listen to them, so you could get the comparison. Also, VHS voice actors compared to the record books, which were different. Which when me and Tyler both find out, because I didn't own a lot of those VHS ones, so I didn't know about the voices, and Tyler also really didn't know about the record stuff. And when he heard the different voices, like, whoa, it was weird, because these ones for the records are so different and distinct. But you said the VHS ones tried to feel closer to a Filmation feel.
Yeah. When you watch those, you don't really feel like it's too far away from what as a kid that you're more acquainted with Filmation, and they do a pretty good job of mimicking most of the voices from Merman to Beastman to He-Man, Skeletor, the Sorceress. They do a pretty good job. The people at Golden Books who did those animated tapes. The only other one I ever saw was the Super Grover VHS tape, which had like a variety of Sesame Street shorts from some of the storybooks. Those were fun to, and they were very similar to the Sesame Street characters themselves. They may have even got the same actors.
Oh, okay.
Do that, but
this book, just real quick, some more things about it that's kind of cool. Is first, you've seen a great show of power from Skeletor here to just out of nowhere use that power to create a whirlwind to suck Castle Grayskull right off from the ground. And He-Man was on top of Grayskull at the time, and like you said, he couldn't hold on. He flew off, and then Stratos caught him, but then He-Man had, I think, shoved like a sword into a rock to try to stay from getting sucked. But because they almost got sucked in. Stratos and He-Man almost got sucked in the whirlwind, but they, held on, and then they, had to find it themselves. Like you said,
in the VHS, they're actually caught inside the cyclone.
Oh, did they show it like a little more? Because I never watched.
Yeah, like there's the shot of Stratos holding on to He-Man inside the cyclone, and you see the swirling motion as if like they're going around and around and around until I think He-Man plunges his sword, I think, into a rock or something like that, to kind of give them some stability. And I
have to watch that.
Stratos.
Yeah, because I'm going to have to watch it, because in the books you see kind of like them being in the swirl of that, being sucked in the cyclone, but to see it kind of animated would be fun. That's, these books...
It's not like it's a whole lot there, but it's just a little bit of animation.
To bring it to life a little, if you weren't watching on TV, like you said, and you had the record, to listen to, you got lost in this. You're using your imagination as you're looking at it and hearing the sound effects. But also they made reference, which I thought was interesting, is the reason Skeletor was able to take Castle Grayskull is because the sorceress of Castle Grayskull wasn't there. She was out on a mission or doing her duties, so he was able to take the castle, which I thought that was kind of weird that they brought that up. Like, what could she have been doing? And I didn't even remember her in the earlier ones being shown unless it was as that goddess look.
Really, and that's something that it's. I haven't watched all the VHS tape in a while, and I don't even think that's mentioned. It may be mentioned that they address the sorceress, but honestly, in watching that tape, there's no mention of the sorceress at all in Caverns, Thief, and Sword of Skeletor. She's only mentioned in Time Trouble, the 4th episode on that tape. So it really makes it sound like this is catering to the beginnings of the He-Man toy line, where the sorceress was a non-existent character in the mythology. It was strictly who can keep, who out of the castle and take control of it, which, is the traditional, well, maybe not traditional, but the early beginnings of the toy line, where there's nobody's guarding it. It's just whoever can get a hold of it.
Yeah, usually that spirit and that voice that we seen in the early comics, and then half the time sorceress / goddess / Tila, they look the same, and that's how we were used to seeing those sorcerers, was basically, how the goddess Tila was. So that's what we were used to. So yeah, it was weird. I just thought that was interesting to find a reference of that. But I mean, it's a good story from, again, beginning to end, and whether you listen to it, whether you watch it on VHS, or you do the YouTube where you have the record and the story, book along. Either way, you got to watch all the different versions and read it, because you get just different interpretations, different ways it went out. But all these early ones, I'd wish that they could put a little collection of just having them all together, maybe even some kind of little different way of audio file for people, maybe jazz up, have a new way of somebody else reading it, maybe more close to a Filmation sound, or even just more barbaric like the way it used to be. Because I was used to that. I was used to the different voice actors from the records. It was so different because, I wasn't hearing, I couldn't remember when I had it, if I had this before I looked at the cartoon or not, but I thought I always remembered these record books, at least listening to them before the cartoon. At least I thought, because remember then when the cartoon came out, they went back and did these and added mustaches to Man-at-Arms. So these stories, I believe, obviously predated, at least these early ones predated the cartoon.
Yeah, they because the toy line came out in 82, Filmation came out in 83, and I think a lot of those books came out in 83 as well. So it's almost like they were in production around the same time that Filmation was, but they're not really having any kind of collaboration together.
Right, because no Prince Adam, no Prince Adam in these.
Yeah,
just,
not those. So it's fun too, because the story ends with He-Man. I know I got a little bit of this goofed. He-Man starts out on top of the castle at the beginning of the story, and at the end of it, he leaps to the top of the tower where Skeletor is at and takes on Skeletor with the laser cannon.
And I like that. I like they talked about his great strength. Like you said, his great strength and power. He was able to leap all the way on top of Castle Grayskull. It's like, there you go. Even this He-Man had some super strength with his leaping ability to do that.
Yeah, it goes up there and is dodging the laser blast, and I think the rest of the heroic warriors end up coming up there too, and Skeletor attempts to surrender and then decides to double cross him, and then they, I think, reflect his blast, I think, from the Havoc.
He-Man. Yeah, He-Man reflect the Havoc staff to make Skeletor disappear.
Skeletor, and he ends up kind of being blasted away. He doesn't die, but it sends him probably back to Snake Mountain, I assume, something like that.
Yeah, he disappears, which also within him disappearing, the hold over, of Castle Grayskull there went away, and it said it disappeared, was supposed to have reappeared back where it originally started, and brought life back to that land that became barren because of, Skeletor or whatever power he had. So it became lush, and of course shows some typical stuff. It showed Tila like looking down at flowers or something. They always like depicting her sometimes looking at beautiful things. I think
because that's kind of what you'd expect the female characters to be doing. Even though she is an ass kicker, she can still appreciate the. A woman. Typically, most women do love flowers, and it doesn't feel like it's out of character. This is a warmer Tila, because as we all know, I like to slam her portrayal in a lot of the media, but she's a lot more level-headed. She's never do anything rash or stupid. She comes off as a very likable character in this Gold. Not that she's given a whole lot to do, but still, she's not not portrayed as a hard-headed warrior who's about, striking first and ask questions later, and getting yourself in trouble.
Yeah, and also I think this book, this came out in '84, but it was probably written obviously earlier than that. So, yeah, it's weird. Your childhood memories when you think about things from cartoons to books to comics or whatever. Sometimes you got to try to put it all in the place of what you've seen, what they were thinking or writing at the time. Like you said, were they having Filmation in mind? Was it before Filmation? Was it what the heck? Let's just do our own story. Either way, you can appreciate it for what it is. I just I'm not going to, I don't sit here and sometimes try to historian do every single piece. I mean, I could, but I just honestly, I sometimes try to go by memory of things that I just did when I was growing up.
Oh, it's because I think for a lot of fans too, a lot of us have these things burned into our brains. And, they may not be the spitting image page by page, but a lot of us will still remember. I mean, because I don't have Thief of Castle Grayskull in front of me at all. It's packed up in storage. But I read that book a lot. I mean, the ones that I had, those 3 books, I looked at them a great deal and then watched them on that tape a whole lot. So, and I've got pretty much the gist of it just because I looked at them so much. I didn't have the dialogue memorized or anything like that, but the essential story itself, I know pretty well.
I listened to them.
It's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Like I said, I just loved listening to it. I used to play it on the record player so much. I don't know, you could call me lazy probably. I didn't like reading it. I didn't want to read it. I just wanted to listen. I wanted to feel like I was having my own cartoon in my, I don't know, some form by listening and looking at the pretty pictures.
I just, I looked at pictures. I mean, that's how I read comic books as a kid. I couldn't read half the stuff that was in them. I just let the pictures tell the story. And the same thing with the He-Man books. I couldn't read. And then the VHS tape comes along and it pretty much tells me the story along with the images too. So I can, as if I, didn't already get it, I get even more, clarification with exactly what's going on, the dialogue and everything. So.
And was it you? Did you say that you knew somebody? I didn't know if it was you or a buddy that you said one time you put in one of the VHS, of these books. And somebody's like, well, wait a second, that's not a cartoon. That's not like a Filmation. Like, they were so used to seeing Filmation that when they seen the VHS, they were questioning, like, what is this? It's just pictures and words.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was a while back when we mentioned that. I think somebody got offended by what, the Golden Book VHS. I guess he was expecting, like, this Filmation adaptation of the books. I'm like, no, there's a bunch of these Golden Book tapes where they adapt a lot of their books from She-Ra, Sesame Street, He-Man, and a lot of those there's these children's story books about these talking animals, or I think like The World of Richard Scarry or something like that, or I think that's the name of the author, I think, where he did like the gingerbread man story, like that wolf or fox that's chasing the gingerbread, Never Catch Me, I'm the Gingerbread Man. Those old Golden Book. I'm sure if I showed people a picture, they probably know what I was talking about. But they did a bunch of those, and the little gingerbread man gets eaten in that one. Oh dear God,
that sounds insane. I've never seen it or read it.
No, but I'm pretty sure it's the Busy World of Richard Scarry, which I think Nickelodeon adapted as a cartoon based on those storybooks. But Golden Books did all those storybooks, I believe, and they did one of those VHS tapes with the limited animation and stuff like that. So they've done a bunch of them. It's not like they decided to do this fluke tape of He-Man, like, what the hell is this? I don't want this, and throw it in the garbage can.
Yep, so that's why I say Dark Horse needs to get a hold of all the Golden Books, put them all together, give a special little, like I said, maybe a little, I don't know, memory card, whatever the hell you use to listen to the file.
Let me and Joe do like a nice introductory or some interviews with the various authors and illustrators and stuff like that, because me and Joe, we're big fans of these Golden Books. We can ask the hard-hitting questions with these guys, like, what the hell were you thinking? Not including Goatman in this one scene here. Roger
right.
Black. Who?
I love some of the crazy color errors too. Like in this one, that Stratos I think has a yellow helmet or something. Always cracked me up. As kids, like,
there'd be some sort of color error. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Right. So it'll be fun.
This ain't right.
But that's what we need. A Golden Book collection from Dark Horse, and if they want to thicken it up, hell, add in the Star Marvel comics, something else. There's plenty of things to spice up another book. There's more books that can happen, no doubt. But that was the Thief of Castle.
Excuse me, one moment here, Joe. Talk to the fans there.
All right. Well, hey, I was gonna say I can see right here we got in the chat room again. We have Dan and I see Tom's been talking, and they were asking too right there, where they said I think it was Tom said, "Wait, are these in the big Dark Horse book?" And they're not, but that's what I mean. We need all these golden books. I mean, from the super adventures, these small, soft covered ones, the ones with audio files if they give it to us, those harder edition ones you could put in the Sunbird Legacy. There's sticker books that have stories. I know some people think, oh, sticker book. I mean, why would I want this? But no, the sticker books, there were some that had unique stories to it. Some of those paint ones, even the coloring books. Golden did so much. It's insane. So, I mean, like I said, so they had, they had coloring books that had stories too, where one Skeletor was marrying Tila. He was to wed Tila. I won't tell you what the story was and if he did or did not, but you can find those definitely on eBay if you find those coloring books. They even had a stamp/sticker book. Like they had these unique kind of little stamps you put, and that had a story. So there's a ton of stuff that Golden could put out. And that's what I was just telling him, Tyler. I was just telling him about the all the stuff that Golden has done that they could put out into a book. And now I'm going to let you take over for a second because for some reason I am sweating horribly into my eye, and
I wonder why. I wonder what could possibly, aside from the fact we're in early or mid-September, Joe's wearing a big red scarf, a hood, a mask, headphones, and probably got the heat on.
Wow. I mean, hold on. I think it's almost done. It'd be crazy if you guys start seeing tears come down, but for a second, it was sweating in my eyes so badly that my eyes started burning.
Like that spoof of Gangster Paradise by what's his name?
Weird Al Yankovic.
Weird Al Yankovic, when they're making fun of that rapper who's sweating a whole lot in Gangster's Paradise, and got Weird Al singing, and just sweat's just rolling down his face. That's what's going on. That's a weird. I can't believe I just pulled that reference out of my head.
That's weird, but no, okay. I'm cool now, but it was weird. It was burning my eyes so much that my ear was twitching, and I couldn't hear out of it. But I'm good now. So no, I was just letting
your ear twitching like Sloths in the Goonies, like when he hears something, like his ear kind of moves.
No, not like no. I didn't mean outside twitching. The inside, my eardrum was going, and I couldn't even hear nothing. But okay. Well, no, I was just letting them know because they're asking about, if Dark Horse did the Golden Books, and I said no, but I said beyond these soft ones, the Super Adventures, the hard ones, the Sunbird Legacy, I said also the sticker books had stories, the coloring book had stories, the stamp book had stories.
I can't see the coloring books being done though, because I don't think anybody who did those would be able to.
Hell, I'd scan them. If they weren't, I could scan them. And they're in black and white. Hell, I'd color them up.
Well, that's really. Then I would support that.
No kidding. And I would even color them in for them. I could color those things, but they had their own unique stories, like the one with Skeletor to marry Teal. Like I told the fans, I won't tell him if he did not, if he accomplished his goal. But, I mean, it's local.
Oh, he accomplished his goal, all right. We just didn't tell anybody.
Oh, there you go. You just wrecked it all for everybody. So, yeah, I can hear you now, Kevin. He just laughed at me. Kevin Castillo said, Joe, can you hear me now? Because of my ear twitching. Yeah, I got you, man. So, well, that's that. And I wanted to say, before we move on to our character profile, I don't know if you guys call it online, James Etok just put up another preview of the Return of Faker cartoon. That
we got?
Well, I mean, yesterday, I think he put it up, or the day before. Did you see the one where it was Merman, Beastman, they're all inside Snake Mountain? Oh, what a genius. Oh, God, just genius move. There's an homage to, I won't say the book or the image, but something Faker does with Beastman that's an homage to He-Man and Beastman. Iconic pose. But I love it. The use of existing voices that they took from, existing episodes to create a new episode along with the new footage and everything they're creating. It's like, God, it feels like it's an actual Filmation episode. And I know he said it's going to come out in 2018. If you guys haven't found that yet, you can look it up. The Return of Faker.
It was supposed to be released this September, like the whole thing when he was hyping it up, months and months ago. Like, okay, September. Like, no, teasers. That's it.
It's great.
It's great. You, Buster.
It's a great teaser, though. And I believe he said he had a new YouTube channel. I will be honest, I forgot what it was, but I'm sure if you on YouTube type in The Return of Faker, it's going to bring up the previews. So you'll be able to see it.
The
Subscribe.
official He-Man YouTube channel is his YouTube channel. So I'm sure he's got that along with his various trivia videos and stuff like that. And when I watch this, I recognize so many lines of dialogue from certain episodes. I'm like, oh, this is great. This works so good at pulling that line of dialogue and that one and mix it together. I mean, this works off the whole idea of Filmation reusing, certain pieces of animation and taking a particular character and coloring them differently. I mean, they're doing a fantastic job of using what's been done, voices and animation, to create a brand new episode.
They are. Absolutely. So definitely look it up on YouTube, subscribe to his channels, and I'm sure he'll put up more of his previews there. Of course, I'll be honest, I don't want no more previews because I just want to see the cartoon. I'll
be trying to spoil it for the rest of us just because you're on this
preview.
This high strict diet of like no trailers, no spoilers, nothing, as if like, well, the rest of the world, Now, granted, there are a lot of people who put together some really crummy trailers that spoil big moments in movies. But I don't think that's going to be the case with these guys spoiling heavy stuff.
I just want to be excited now. I don't want to look at more. Just like when you put up those preview pages for the mini comic of Leech, I'll let you know I haven't looked at any of them. Every time you tag me on Facebook.
Every time I tag you didn't look at any of those.
I don't look at any. Every time you tag me, I just sit there and now here's the thing. I don't delete it from Facebook. I hide it from my timeline.
I didn't post anything that spoils anything. You obviously know that Leech is going to be a big part in the story.
There's going to be pages.
Believe me, there are moments in that mini comic book that I have not shown to anybody other than Karsten, and of course he's the one that drew it and everything. And no, there are some heavy spoiler stuff that I'm like, no one else has seen that. They won't see it, and he's sending them out now to people who purchased it already. This week, I believe. I think I got that right, Carson. I know I screwed it up last week, so I apologize for that. But no. Everything that I sent is like you expect the Heroic Warriors to do battle with Leech, and I'm like, well, I didn't think that really spoiled anything. And
I still hide it from my timeline, so I can't see it.
Fine, you do that.
I still do it every time. There'll be a day where we'll have to do that comic on the podcast, obviously. But yep, I'm just waiting.
I want to thank everybody who did purchase a copy of that. It's really cool that people took the time to purchase a copy of it. And I hope everybody enjoys it. And when you do get it, please let us know what you think about it. I'm not afraid to take any kind of criticism, because if it does well, we plan to do the next one, which there's a teaser for the next mini comic, providing this one does well enough to justify doing a second mini comic. So if you want another one, you'll get an idea of what we're going to be doing next if you don't already know from listening to earlier podcast.
Awesome.
I won't say what it is, and just on the idea that Joe didn't pay attention to me when I said it on an earlier podcast.
That's right. I listen to nothing. So, again, I wanted to also say welcome to Christopher Dahlberg in the chat room. He's just joined us. So, yeah, he's I guess he's awaiting what our next topic is, because he was wondering if we already started discussing Stinkor, and we have not. So, let's start with Stinkor. I'm going to talk about first when I just first experienced the toy, obviously. When I got that as a kid, again, I didn't know about the whole Stinkor merman gimmick. I mean, it was probably a couple years later. I always said, I looked up at my shelf, I was like, wait a second. Is that Merman's body? And then I realized, wait a second, Moss Man is Beast Man? Isn't it kind of funny and clever that the ones that have these gimmicks of stinking and smelling were swaps of other characters? Beast Man to Moss Man, smells, and then Merman to Stinkor, smells. It kind of a little weird little thing. Nothing super important, but I found that kind of interesting, the swaps of those, both of them to become stinky characters. And Stinkor was stinky. I never understood what a patchouli oil is that people talked about. But I remember the first time I opened that package, like, wow, that does stink. And it held a stink a long time.
Mine did too for years. Like, it was very, very mild. Like, you had to practically put your nostrils on the figure to smell it, but you could still smell it on there.
Yeah. The other cool thing with beyond the smell, it's like, using the Mechanic type armor, if you will, for Stinkor, it felt like it worked better because it looked like, it was, apparatus over his face. Mechanic, of course, it was first with him, but I never really got any kind of thing. I just thought, it's cool armor. But they did a genius move of using Mechanic's armor to put on him because it looks like it could be
the dark colors, too, because I as a kid, I didn't see the Merman figure. I think it was probably sometime in the early '90s at some kid's house from some like way far off family reunion of people I've never seen before and still haven't seen since. And this guy had a closet full of all of his He-Man stuff, all boxed away, and he pulled them out for me to see him and stuff like that. And I think it was the first time I ever saw Merman, and it still didn't put it together because I was still young at the time that was Stinkor.
Right.
I can't remember. It was sometime I think in high school, or not. I think it was before high school when I put the two together, because I eventually did find out too that Beastman and Mossman were the same one. But I had Stinkor. I think when I was 4, I got him for a birthday present from my grandparents, along with the Golden Book VHS tape.
Oh, okay.
So I got those two at the same time from my grandparents, and I love Stinkor. I just thought he was such a wonderful character, great color scheme. I didn't take him as a skunk character. It didn't register me that he was a skunk. He was just because he didn't look like a skunk, at least to me. I mean, he's got the color scheme.
I'm glad you said that. First I want to say hello to Luis Coronado in the chat room. Good to have you here too. So
good to be out here tonight.
Yeah, so we got a lot of people in there. A lot of new.
Everybody for taking the time to join us. We appreciate that. We really do. That's
we
awesome.
Do. It is. It's great to have you. Also with Tom, he was talking about. He said that Spikor, he said, worried him as a kid, along with Stinkor. He said because he thought that Stinkor would smell really bad, and he was worried that Spikor would hurt. So that's I mean, I guess he did look like it would be a figure that could poke you. But when you talk about Stinkor, that was something that was really noticeable. There were certain certain color schemes that you always seen with some characters, but he really stood out. I mean, that orange and black and white, it was something that you weren't used to. Like, what is this color combination? And I did understand the skunk thing when with the white and black, I understood the skunk gimmick. And, well, obviously with them stinking, but what a cool looking different figure. Like I said, I love the combinations of the stinky smell. And while I didn't play with him a lot, it was fun to, I don't know, like you said, even though it stunk really horribly when I first got it, you're a kid, you smell things. Like I remember just picking up Mossman and Stinkor half the time just to smell them. I mean, it's terrible a kid would pick up figures to smell them, but that's what I did half the time with Stinkor. Was just I wanted to smell them and then put them back on the shelf. I think I never wanted to wreck them. Maybe that's another thing that gets in your head as kids. I was thinking things would wear out. Like I thought maybe if I kept touching them, his stink would go away. If I kept touching Mossman, I was afraid the moss would come off. Same thing with Grizzlor. I never liked touching them too much because I was worried to wreck them. You remember how I told you I always pack ratted my my figures to where I still have everything from all my figures when I was a kid because I was afraid to lose them after losing the one thing, my Beastman whip when I was on vacation. But otherwise, they still have all their pieces. So that's the reason I think I didn't want to touch them too much, was the worried of getting rid of their smell or something. I don't know.
I never thought of such nonsense as a kid.
I did. I was a weird kid. I remember you're talking to somebody that, saved every mini-comic. And then as for the card backs, I would cut the art. And I'm holding these things where I don't want them damaged because my brother used to blow up G.I. Joes and destroy everything. So I hid them like they were treasures of the world. I mean, just picture a kid having to hide his figures and keep them in a safe place because he's afraid they're going to get destroyed. That was me.
No, I mean, I play with Stinkor a great deal, and I liked people like family members who had never seen him before. I'd say, "Here, smell him, smell Stinkor." You're like, "Oh God!" And when I got older, and I came across people on occasion that smelled like Stinkor. I'm like, as a kid, like had never heard of patchouli.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know what it
was.
To
this day, I come across people at work who are wearing that, and I'm always reminded by Stinkor, a couple times a week while I'm at work, because there are some people that do wear it, but I was not aware of that, and then I come to find out that I'm like, I love the smell of Stinkor, but the actual to wear it, I've never been able to understand why people find that to be a flattering fragrance to be put on.
Yeah, out of all things, it's used for a figure that stinks. You think, why would you? But I don't know. It's nothing I would want to
do. I don't know if it's both men and women. I've only been around women who were wearing it, and believe me, I mean, it's like, oh God, it's not a flattering scent, because if I told them you smell like Stinkor,
right,
and I remember as a kid too with my buddy Matt Hilton, he would ask me about He-Man stuff because he was really in the Transformers when we were older kids. We're in elementary school, middle school, and still collect. He's in the Transformers. I'm still in the He-Man, and I tell him Stinkor still stinks, and he just thought that was the funniest thing in the world. But I guess to him it sounded like this figure is crummy, or the fact that he still smells after all these years. But that was a line as kids that he always enjoyed me saying that Stinkor still stinks. And he did. He still stunk way into high school, and I think I've still got my original Stinkor on the shelf. His leg kind of curls off to the side there, so he doesn't stand up very well. I always had to prop him against something.
Does he still have any stink left to him? Yeah, because grab it. That always cracks me up just to see. Because I think my Moss Man still is a slight, very faded pine.
No,
all gone.
All gone. Of course, then again, my nose is a bit stuffy at the moment too, but I still can't smell any patchouli on him.
All right, yeah, because Kevin Castillo, he said that he used to keep his Stinkor and Mothman in separate baggies away from all the other characters, so that was his way, I guess, of preserving the smell.
Oh, I guess you don't want Fisto and Too Bad smelling like Mothman and Stinkor because that's saved for that particular character. But something that that we've talked about a lot is the lack of respect a lot of these characters get from the fan base, and Stinkor, I think, is one of those. Even though he's never comes to mind as the first one that gets slapped around by the fan base. That tends to be more like Snout Spout and
Rio Blast and
Mecha Neck at times, and that's due to MYP.
Yeah.
But Stinkor, I mean, because you hear the stories that Lou Scheimer had no desire to do Stinkor, which I'm like, why? As if like they thought this was going to be offensive. Like, come on, guys. There's nothing offensive about a character that stinks. He's a bad guy. He's supposed to be making the good guys run away because his smell is so awful. And I just find that so bothersome that the people at Filmation find it to be very off-putting to use Stinkor in the cartoon. Like they balked at the idea. I just felt like...
Yeah. I don't get it either. I mean, especially when it's somebody, it could be like, I know that, like you've said before, they're like, oh, it'd be a fart joke. I wouldn't even think it would have been a fart joke.
No. I mean, I thought that was just...
Because
it's just... They just didn't like the character. Who knows? I just... Same thing with the device called the Ball Buster, which eventually became the Bashosaurus. And this is in that Toy Masters documentary where they mentioned that. And you can only assume they're talking about the Bashosaurus, but they're saying that this was really gross and disgusting. And I'm not sure if that's the way these guys edited the trailer to make it sound like that, but kind of makes you wonder, like, I mean, we see a lot of these concept things, in the Power and Honor Foundation book and various other places. There's nothing in these prototypes that sounds, like that would be off-putting to children. And I can't wrap my head around the idea of why Stinkor. Thank God he was using MYP, and of course
they used him cleverly.
Fart joke in there.
No, and you're right. That's what I mean. They used it cleverly. It was never anything about a fart joke. It was just this creature that permeates a horrible, horrible odor, and that's what it should have been if they did it in Filmation. Not like he would have been walking and you would have seen, poot out of his butt or something. Oh, the fart joke. No, he should have been a horrible,
he does that
noxious...
at the end of the episode.
What's that? He did that in MYP?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
I honestly don't, because I haven't rewatched a lot of those too many times.
Yeah, and when he comes in with his new armor and everything, he says, "Call me Stinkor," and then you hear this, and the Skeletor laughs. I was like, "Oh God, Skeletor's laughing at a fart joke here."
Oh God, I mean, but did they actually show it coming out of his butt, or you just heard it?
It kind of comes out from a lower part, kind of.
Oh, I gotcha.
Making it look like it's an actual fart. Of course, they actually put in a sound effect that sounds like a fart from Rocko's Modern Life or something like that. But
because I just wish, like you said, it just could have been just like like a character that just does stink, and then the thought of him coming into battle. I mean, like you said, it could have, like how earlier when I was sweating into my eyes and it was causing me to tear up and burn. I mean, he could have just the smell alone. That could have been like almost like a noxious gas to fight the the heroic warriors, and then they have to find a way. Maybe Cyclone could spin and blow the smell away. I mean, Filmation's way of doing it could have hammed it up, cutesy, whatever you'd want to say, but you could have still had battles and reasons to use him without him being a fart joke. But then, like you said, we get him in MYP, which, what a great revamp of him to first be Otifice and then to become Stinkor. But yeah, it's like you could really take this character seriously. He doesn't look like he would be an absolute joke or a stupid character. He looks like a serious threat. You wouldn't want
Yeah,
him
he's a
to war.
legitimate threat when he's, running through various parts of Eternia, and you got all kinds of wild animals are running away and causing stampedes because they can't bear to be around the smell of the guy. I mean, that's an awesome villain. It's a powerful villain that somehow people look at as not a legitimate villain. And you try to fight one on one with some guy you can't bear to be around because the guy stinks so bad. I mean, let me tell you this: you've been around some stinky people at the gym where they've got like a large cloud of body odor around. There's no way in hell I'm going around them because if I do, I'm going to start dry heaving like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. So that makes Stinkor a very powerful and very valuable villain to have amongst your roster.
And it also could have gave some more battles, but it could have gave more screen time to Mossman because you remember in the mini comics we at least had them going at it with
legitimate rivalry to set up. You've got Fresh versus the Stinky Patchouli, or Stinky Skunk, so to speak.
Yeah, because like I said, we got it in the mini comics, and we've seen Stinkor before in some other types of literature, and just like others have said in the chat room, the UK comics used him quite a bit, but. It could have then, because in Filmation, you probably know right off the top of your head, I mean, how many times did we get to see Mossman in the Filmation cartoon?
He showed up and here there's Skeletors everywhere, Ancient Mirror of Aphathar, and I think maybe one other episode, and then he has the cameo in the Christmas special. And
so it could have
they're not the best of appearances anyway either. And,
could have given good screen time and time to shine to having a battle with Stinkor. Almost a little side story. Because like we've seen many Filmation episodes where it didn't always focus on Skeletor. And then sometimes they would try to give a little bit more to this particular heroic warrior, whoever. It could have gave both screen time to both of them and maybe ingrained it into people's heads more to where maybe they could respect these characters a little more. Because it seems like a lot of times when these characters didn't pop up in the cartoon, they're some of the least respected for whatever reason. Because I think a lot of people really have it ingrained in their head, the Filmation cartoon. And unfortunately, they didn't maybe have it to where they enjoyed the mini comics too much. I mean, I loved it all. I know you did, and probably almost everybody in the chat room did. But a lot of people...
Well, it just makes you wonder where it starts. Where does this inner circle of people slamming certain characters start? I mean, I remember reading for years on internet forums that people were slamming Snoutspout. I'm like, why? Why is this such a disliked character? I mean, I didn't get it because I just have... And I have open arms for so many 80s toy lines and characters, heroes and villains of all shapes and sizes and colors and everything like that. It's hard for me to sit there and say that character sucks. So... and that goes from G.I. Joe to Turtles to, Silverhawks, Thundercats, Transformers. But for He-Man, I'm like, no, there's room for love. And I'm like, I don't see any member of this vintage roster up here that does not belong up there or that I find to be,
it's a world of fantasy.
Below average.
Yeah, I've always said that. It's a world of fantasy and imagination. I mean, they're just all sorts of different characters. So when you say, a guy that has an elephant head that, and a human body, and he looks kind of mechanical, I mean, or whatever, why does he belong? It's like, what do you mean? I mean, we got bee guys, we got, fish guys, what are you talking about? It's just fantasy. Of course it fits in well, and he would have his purpose. And heck, especially if they would have jazzed up, if they didn't just want to, like, when you talk about Snoutspout as being hose nose, in She-Ra, and, he squirts out water and stuff, and they make it seem like, he's kind of worthless. What does he do? Just put out fires? But picture if they could have amped him up and jazzed him up like they did in the UK stories to where he's shooting, I think, ice and fire and all sorts of things out of his...
Well, I mean, you don't want to overdo the guy's gimmick.
Well, they did it in the...
Because he does project water.
The UK one had him using multiple things and blasts, and it did make it pretty cool.
I know what you're saying here. I'm just saying, personally, I think that's a bit too much.
I liked it. I liked all the stuff. I liked it. I said I liked it. I liked that they gave him more than just water. Because like you said, it could have been just water and ice. But, I mean, heck, okay, if you didn't want the fire or the beams, like you said, at least if, like, let's say they could add water, ice, and then, like, a mist. Like, how when, water creates steam.
Well, I mean,
and it fog up a room.
Steam, like vapor. You can create hot water, cold water, or ice, out of the... Being able to just use the essence of water through his cybernetic head, where he can control the temperature of what he's projecting. That makes sense. But just shooting fire just for the sake of, hey, have projectiles of anything coming out, that seems like, okay, from a fantasy standpoint, you're giving this guy way too much. That's like saying Visto could take his right hand and put it on his left hand. Why? Why do you need to do that? Like, no, you don't need to do that. Or that Triclops, they established you get 3 different visions, but then, one eye can fire beams out of it, which naturally seems to make sense, but take one or the other. I don't, I like these characters being simplistic, whereas Joe likes to throw in everything in the kitchen sink.
Hey, some of them you jazz up. Some can deserve it. But one thing that should never pop up, Tom Charlton just made mention of a character. I never want to mention that character. He said the Mighty Spector about no, I would never want to see him in.
Why did this gentleman bring this character up?
I think that's when we were saying characters to be in the cartoon. Let me see. I just want to go back. I want to make sure I'm getting you right here, Tom.
I'm hoping that if he's bringing him up, he's hoping that we're going to rip that guy a new ass.
I think okay. Well, let me see. Wait. What was it? I think he said, I think it's okay for some characters to be a bit of a gag. Like if you'd had Stinkor on there, they could have sort of amusing goof. And then Kevin Castillo said, LOL. He said, I meant Merman. And then Tom said, what about the Mighty Spector? I wouldn't want him as a goof. I wouldn't want him as nothing. I wouldn't want that character to appear in cartoon, comics, pictures, posters, anything. I want him gone and erased from Masters history. God, it's one of the worst characters I've ever seen is the Mighty Spector.
He's not a character. He's the character that the brand manager forced on everybody to buy. Yeah. Because he was just like, no, I'm going to put my own character in there, and everyone's going to buy it. If you want Drago Man and Fearless Foe, you got to buy my created character that nobody seems to like.
And Sir Laserlot, I want them gone. Man. I hate
so
those.
Mad at him and Jeff Johns for fortune. There's really lame ass characters in that sub. Yeah, fortunately, I didn't have to buy that sub. I had my buddy Matt Sterner bought the sub, and I purchased Drago and Fearless Photog, and I bought just for the hell of it. Not that he's a great character either, but
yeah, that's another bummer. The only good one was Drago Man and the Fearless Photog. Fearless Photog because we were supposed to get him when we were kids, and Drago Man because damn, that was just an awesome design. Why was
Horseman creating all those characters other than Fearless Photog, which needed to be done? Period. The Horsemen should have been the only ones to design figures for that classic sub that we got. It was
because they created the only new good one.
Yes. Not to mention these are the guys who are responsible for redesigning these characters for MYP and for classics. They should be the only ones, unless you're going to bring in people who are, like Kevin Sharp or Axel, people who are well versed in designing and adding a nice, edgy or sharp look to these characters. People who drew pictures in crayons as a kid. And say, well, I had this since I was a kid, and I've always wanted, like, well, I'm sorry, that's great for you, but you know what? The rest of us aren't interested in what you drew as a kid in crayon. And to force characters like that into the mini comics, into the DC stories that you would buy on iTunes and stuff like that. Like, stop forcing these characters. We don't like them.
Yeah. And I was going to say for the chat room for Tom Charlton, he said, oh no, he says, I love Laserlot. I think he's neat. Hey, there's lovers of everything. If you like him, you go ahead. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not here to bash people for their personal.
No.
Not going to do that.
Yeah, I love like
we're not going to, do the typical word of control here. We don't like your opinion here, so you're banished from the podcast and the chat room and the forums and others, and blah blah blah.
If he likes, like I said, anything anybody likes, you go right ahead and like or love it.
We encourage it all, so it's not like we're going to cast you out, for such things, and that's perfectly fine. As long as you don't mind our opinions about it, we certainly aren't going to banish yours, so we appreciate you sharing that. So
yeah, and when we talked about the Fearless Photog, there were many people that didn't know about him being the winner of a create a character contest back when we were growing up.
That made me shake my head. I couldn't figure out how the hell do people not know about this create a character contest from the 80s? I just felt like I was not aware of that until the very early days of He-Man on the internet and seeing pictures of Fearless Photog. I'm like, oh man, that'd have been so cool if we'd gotten that, man. And to hear people bitching and, setting things on fire and rioting in the streets and going on the forums and social media and I hate this, I ain't buying this because I want a stupid character. I'm just like, God, you people are so naive.
Well, I mean, I love Fearless Photog because I remember.
I thought he was a great character.
Because I remember wanting him when I was a kid.
Made.
Yeah, when we seen him as a kid, I thought we were going to get him, so I was super excited. And we didn't get him. I was super bummed. So I'm just so glad to see that he was finally remade. I mean, just what a great thing to do when they made the Create a Character contest, the new one again, and then they finally gave us what we were supposed to have after all this time. But a lot of these other ones, I mean, beyond, like I said, the Four Horsemen. Oh, I think I heard somebody blowing his nose. But yeah, besides the Four Horsemen making Drago Man, which is the most awesome of the Create a Character contest, figures. I mean, those figures. It's just the ones I didn't really get into. I just didn't get into Psychop. I didn't get into Spectre, and I sure didn't get into.
Well, when you realize that there were others that were up for possibilities like Brainwave, I-Beam, Netta, Compactor, you kind of made it feel like, well, why weren't these made? Obviously, Mattel thought they were good enough to have I think Bruce Timm come in and do some illustrations of these possibilities. So why weren't these made? I mean, it's just very irritating that there's some great created characters that, no, we didn't have them as kids. We weren't. I certainly wasn't aware of them, but to look at them, they look very good. They're original looking designs. They make sense. And I mean, characters like Spectre and Sidechop. I mean, I really wanted to try and get into Sidechop. I didn't really want to.
I couldn't because first I looked at the figure, and the figure is jumbled, and so was his bio. His bio and the figure were both jumbled. Reading that bio, it looked like a hot mess, and looking at the figure, it just looked like they just grabbed a whole bunch of crap.
The people who are writing the bios, all together, don't know, lack of a better phrase, jack shit.
But Cyclops was really bad.
Language. Don't know how to write bios. They don't.
His was really bad. I mean, some were bad, but Cyclops was just really bad. And, I know something that's not going to happen, but I always like to put things out there, for Super 7, just hypotheticals and stuff. Since they're going to be redoing, not redoing, they're making 5.5-inch figures now, and there's other things we got. It would be such a great honor to have a vintage style Fearless Photog, along with if they could give some of those other runners up. I mean, like I said, I-Beam. Could you imagine having a vintage version of that?
I still, all those figures that we mentioned, I would love to have them in vintage and classics form because they're Brainwave and I-Beam. I definitely want. I just think they're such cool looking characters, and of course the rest of these other creative characters that were done in the contest that Castle Grayskull Man won. When you had characters like Gangstor, Bublor, Major Header, 3 Beasts, and Raja, those guys deserve to be made, not Castle Grayskull Man.
Yeah, those would be fantastic classic.
It looks so cool when Axel drew those.
Yeah.
I mean, when the designs were revealed as possibilities to vote on, or I think they were revealed as runners up, I'm like, how the hell did these things not win? They look stunning. I mean, Bubbler, a guy made of this liquid bubble inside like this glass dome body. I'm like, it just looked.
Fans came up with some great ideas. They really did. They came up with some fantastic ideas that unfortunately didn't make it and should be made into classics.
They still should be. I hope to God Raja gets made. Having that 4 or 6 armed Arabian villain with the scimitars. I mean, it just looks like a real evil bastard. I just such a brilliant design, and I hope to God that Super 7. Okay, let's make those. They look pretty cool. I mean, why the hell not? So. Wishful thinking. There was some really good.
Right, it's always wishful thinking. That's why we put it out there. So hopefully, as long as things keep flowing well, we keep getting the stuff. I'm sure there's no reason. As long as fans keep buying and we're pleased, let's just hope it keeps heading in a positive direction with the classics and with the 5.5-inch line. So because that's what I'm really excited about. So let's just cross our fingers. You never know, but. Well, it's been a fantastic episode. We appreciate every single one of you guys that have been in the chat room and discussing. And, like I said, we'll be going back and forth with you. And I hope you enjoyed the show. So, but before we wrap it up, Tyler, you got anything to say to the fans or anything you got going on? What's up?
Not particularly. No, I guess I just continue to plug the unofficial Leech mini comic. If you're interested in it, you can still purchase a copy of it at the Cardbacks, Mini Comics, and More Facebook page. You can go to my Facebook page, and I've posted about it several times. I've tagged Joe in it if you're friends with Joe. You can go to the stuff that he's ignored and click on it yourself.
Right. You guys can click. I ain't looking at it, but you can click on it all day and look at it.
Because I've shared some previews to get people enticed to show that the finished form looks pretty damn good. I'm quite impressed with how it looks, and I hope people like the story that we told, and hope it does well, and hope we can just keep doing this for fun. But recommendations, nothing in particular.
Have them go to YouTube. Have them check out these things.
Well, I was gonna say that, but I felt like I've plugged it before. But why the hell not?
Why not? Yeah.
I plug it again because it is. Excuse me. It is a legitimately good, and not just for nostalgia factor. When I've gone back and rewatched it, I'm impressed by how good it holds up, because it really does. The voice acting is really good. It's fun to watch these limited animated sequences.
In both formats, let them know about the record version and the VHS. It's cool to look at both of them.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, they're about 3 minutes long each story, and you've got 4 stories to listen. You got Caverns of Fear, Thief of Castle Grayskull, Sword of Skeletor, and it ends with Time Trouble. Trouble with Time, excuse me. I think Time Trouble. Time Trouble or Trouble with Time?
I think it's Trouble with Time. Oh my God! Now you got me. No, I think it's Time Trouble. Oh my God! Now I'm sitting there questioning myself. What the hell was it?
I love that story as a kid. I should remember that.
Oh my God! I think it's Trouble. Oh my God! See, we don't know everything.
Time Trouble.
Okay.
Hang on, I'll figure it out right here.
What do you got?
Oh wait. Here, all right. This plays right off. I did not catch this.
Okay.
But the episode Time Trouble is called The Eye of Eternia on the
VHS. Wait, thanks for saying that. I just seen that the other day, and I never knew it. I was like, wait, why are you calling that? I was like, you're calling that The Eye of Eternia because The Eye of Eternia is in the book? And then, it's in there. You will see in, you said Time Trouble, right?
Yeah.
There's this thing called The Eye of Eternia that's in there, and you're right. When it went to that video, they called it The Eye of Eternia. I was like, huh? So that just shows the cool little differences it does between everything. Changing titles, adding stuff, different voices. I love this stuff. See, we just popped something right there too for everybody.
Yeah, and it's a fun story too, especially to watch. And Orko's featured in it. They try to do their best Orko impression. It's okay. It's pretty good, but it's I always found that to be a creepy story because they add a little animation to the tentacles coming out of the eyeball that's grabbing the sorceress, and she's being sucked into the eye, and Skeletor's watching him from afar in the video. And it was just creepy to me as a kid. So that was again. I guess it's no harm in recommending stuff again in case people missed it the first time, because there's a lot of great stuff that if you haven't watched or watched in a long time, you owe it to yourself to go back and give it another shot or revisit it just for the hell of it, because there's so much great material out there for He-Man.
Yeah, and also it's one little kind of cool little tidbit I noticed. There's on the Burger King boxes that I always love talking about. They drew the Eye of Eternia. They called it something else. And I'll show a picture later of it. It's a little comparison I did, but it was the only other time I remember seeing the Eye of Eternia on anything. And of all things to have it on was the Burger King kids meal boxes, where they would, draw stuff on all 4 sides, have cool little, trivia pieces or fun things and things mixed up. But it appeared on there under another name, and I'll maybe show that, and with the link to this podcast for others later, and anybody else in the chat room right now, I'll still show you guys. I love that it popped up somewhere else.
And the artist was not Dino Diachile either.
What for? What? Oh, for the Burger King boxes, yeah, it wasn't him. It wasn't Earl Norm. We don't know who the hell.
No, it was. We talked about him on a previous podcast. The guy who did the artwork for Secret of the Dragon's Egg, a lot of his artwork was used on his Burger King boxes.
Oh, was it? See, I didn't even know that. I'll be honest.
Not all of it, but some of it was used, and it's Louis. Oh man,
we are just bombing. See, guys, we're not perfect. We are bombing and missing everybody's names.
Mistakes. We're not editing the show to show that. Oh no, wait, we always edit our mistakes, so it looks like we know what the hell we're talking about all the time. We're human just like you guys are too. We make mistakes. You know what? We're proud to say that we're no different than anybody else.
And I'm the biggest
We're not claiming to be the ambassadors for He-Man or anything like that. We're just 2 guys who enjoy praising the hell of this property that has nothing going for it right now and just trying to help keep it alive. So
yeah, like I said, we always will forget stuff. I forget quite a bit. I am
Fernando, Louis Fernando, or something like that.
Coronado, maybe, or what am I saying? Coronado. This is sounding like an ancient treasure.
Coronado's from Indiana Jones 3. Coronado's dead, and so is half his grandchildren.
We'll find out later. So, all right, wait. Okay. Well, that you got stuff from Tyler. So as for me, I guess it's time to wrap it up. It's time to say, go to fansofpower.com, go to popculturenetwork.com, go to hemanworld.com, and on Facebook, go to Masters of the Universe. He-Man is your ultimate fan group. All great places, all great people. So until next time, have a powerful day.
I guess what they say is true. Senior citizens, although slow and dangerous behind the wheel, can still serve a purpose.
And I do know that one, but I'm not going to say it, and I'm going to save it for a fan. I do. I'll at least say the actor. I'll say Jim Carrey, but I'm not going to say the.
Why wouldn't you say the name of it? Like,
well, I want people.
That serve?
Okay, Dumb and Dumber. Okay, Dumb and Dumber. There. I just wanted somebody else to do it.
Bombing for week after week after week. I figured if you knew one, you'd at least jump at the opportunity to say, "All right, I have watched that movie."
Well, the ones that I've been forgetting or I don't know, I'm an idiot.
Last week, Black Sheep, I was quoting Chris Farley when him and David Spade are hitting a chunk of the road, and I just chunked in my pants.
I actually don't even remember that part. Okay. All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining us in the chat room, and we'll catch you next week.
We'll see you next week, guys.